Hi, David.
Hello, Lara. Today we are
Okay,
going to get into long form agents doing stuff on your machine to help you out.
exactly. Just so we just set the tone because I'm very intimidated. I did all of the things that you sent me to do. I didn't understand any of the permissions. I just said yes, and I'm pretty sure they have my visa and my firstborn child. All that to say, I tried learning Python for like a couple of weeks, a couple of years ago. So my level of coding is absolutely zero. So if this works for me, then this will work for other people that are an arts history major.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Uh,
Because
the
I want to just say, like, this is going to be the equivalent of just when those people were like, oh, I'm not going to have a cell phone. Like, I think that this is going to be just a thing you got to learn, even if you're not a computer person and you're not a, whatever person. It's,
Well, it's a super powerful tool, right? So maybe you're using probably ChatGPT or Claude, and those interfaces, like they have a lot of features in them now. Like you can separate the different projects, and you can upload files, and they can generate files, and a bunch of useful stuff. But what they can't do is pursue a long-term goal and just work at it. And there are desktop assistants like QDeveloper can do that. And that's kind of a game changer because you can give it a problem like, oh, I need this software on my machine and like the installation doesn't work, just go fix it. And it will work at that for a while, like finding other routes, being like, this thing doesn't work. Okay, let me do this other thing. Or like another example was we have tried like making ebooks out of things by saying like, I have this document that we've written. Now I want it in an ebook, make it so. And it'll just do all the steps. There's a lot of things you have to do that, right? You have to figure out what software to use and download the software and configure it and then write the ebook configuration files and then like, all these problems come up like this thing isn't configured right. And an agent will just chug away at that, trying different things, seeing what works, looking at the machine and being like, okay, that didn't work. Let me try a different route. And it's basically like having a smart assistant, like a grad student, if you're a professor, where you can give them a piece of work and then they'll work on it for a while and then they'll come back to you. And that's what we're trying to achieve here.
yeah, because I will say, I use the phone app LLMs to their highest potential. And now I have reached the point where I've topped out. I need more than what I can do just doing the iPhone app stuff. So here we are.
All right, perfect. So let's start by sharing your screen. So we have installed QDeveloper. Let me give a little bit of description of what QDeveloper is. Q is Amazon's brand of generative AI assistant. There's Q Business and Q Developer. Q Developer is its set of technical tools, which means that they can do code and solve problems and things like that. They're marketed for use by technologists, but it turns out that you can actually use them to do all kinds of other things. So within Q Developer, there's three versions of it. There's one that shows up in the web console, like there's a little stylized Q button in the upper right of the web console if you're in your Amazon Web Services account. And you can pop it open and ask it questions like, why can't I reach my S3 bucket or something? And it will work away at that. And it has access to tools. So like if your permissions are wrong, it can fix them and do useful stuff like that. That's great, but we're not going to talk about it now. If you have an Amazon Web Services account, you should probably be learning that thing. What we're going to do though, is we're going to look at the versions that run in your desktop coding environment or IDE, which we're not actually going to use for code, we're going to use for other things. And at the command line version is pretty cool because it has the most agency. It can do the most work on your machine and make the most modifications and kind of pursue the longest term goals. So we're going to do those two things today, and we're going to use them to solve non-technical problems. So ultimately, this video could be titled like using, high-tech tools to solve non-tech problems.
Okay, sounds good. And I feel very intimidated.
Okay, don't worry. Let's go. Share your screen and let's take a look. We'll start with maybe the Visual Studio Code. So Lara has VS Code, which is the free version of Visual Studio Code installed, and we're going to use that.
And Lara has an iMac from 2021.
Mm-hmm. So it's a reasonable computer. It's fine.
Yeah, it's just a reasonable computer. It's not a gaming or a computer person's computer.
So I see you've got VS Code installed. It's what, 4 icons from the lower left. That guy. Yep.
I have
So let's
Amazon Q, I have Visual Studio Code, and I have Terminal. So click Visual Studio Code.
let's open the Amazon Q first just to show
Okay.
people. So
Sure.
when you install it, and we'll provide the link to the install instructions. So this is intended to be a coding environment. When you first install Q, it walks you through setting up something called a builder ID, which is basically the free ID. This stuff is all free if you use it with a builder ID. There's a professional version. You don't have to worry about that. The builder ID, the free version, just lets you do everything the normal user would want to do most of the time. So, and you're not paying anything for it. It's totally free.
I had to give
So,
him my Visa card. I will say that.
did
Not
you?
for the Builder ID, but for the
For the-
Amazon Web Services, I needed
Oh, for
to.
Amazon. Web- Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
For web services account, right?
Yeah.
You can set up a builder ID with just your Amazon.com account. It's nice to have an Amazon Web Services account if you want to do things like host a website or things like that. It's a way of doing that. This is a little thing that it comes up with, and it gives you a little example how to use Amazon Q. And if you notice on the left ribbon bar, it's installed that stylized Q logo button on the left all the way down.
Welcome. This one.
Yep.
Okay.
So that opens the Q chat window, and there's a little toggle there for agentic behavior. We'll just start talking to it. Now that the key is that little toggle button. If the toggle button is marked on, then it can do operations on your machine. It can change the machine, so it can create files, can run commands, do things like that, primarily within the context of a project, which is what these coding environments run in. So
This one?
yeah. So if that toggle button is marked on, it can add files and manipulate the environment. If it's marked off, it can just answer questions.
Oh, I see. Turn on, turn off. Oh, okay, great.
So let's find a thing to do.
So I have all of these Claude conversations that are sort of synchronous conversations back and forth that are the dream metaphor from the last podcast. And there's a lot of really good information in them. So I wanted to turn them into short articles, blog posts, just summarize them so it gets it out of the chat format and into something where all the key takeaways are available, not without having to slog through the whole conversation. So I'm wondering if I could have that done with all of my 600 conversations.
Okay, so you've got a big set of conversations.
They're all together at least in one project group.
Okay, and so you create them on your phone, but you could get at them through the web interface too, right?
I can get them at them through the web interface.
Okay, perfect. So let's just start by giving Q that problem, right? And just kind of describe it, and let's see what it does. You have to acknowledge it's.
So I do that on this chat. I'm Canadian. You're going to hear a lot of I'm sorry's. Even when I've done nothing wrong. Okay. So
I've just give it your high level problem. Yep.
So this toggle means that it can do stuff on my computer.
Yep.
And if I toggle it off, I can ask it questions, but it can't actually execute anything.
Correct. So we're going to leave it on so it can execute things if it wants to. Just give it the high level problem, type it in as a problem.
Where do I type it in?
Right there.
Oh, okay. Give me a second. Okay. So I have a bunch of conversations in Claude under Yeshuani without materials project. And I would like each of them converted into a blog post using the following criteria as prompt. And then I could put the that thing that should I give it like that whole long thing that I sent you on LinkedIn that was the full prompt, or just tell it to make them into blog posts? How high level does it like it at the beginning? Because that prompt was quite long. It said, use this tone of voice, blah, 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 blah.
So that's a good question. So it, because you're in a coding environment, you can put things in files. So if you have like a lot of complicated stuff, you can just create a bunch of different files for it, and it will look at the files, which is helpful. Before you hit return on that, go up to the file tab, which is the top of that vertical ribbon on the left. It's not on the menu. It is all the way up vertically on that Q or on that
Oh,
files of Visual Studio. And what I'm trying to see is, are you in a project? So go ahead and touch that.
Explorer?
Yeah,
This one?
it's different tabs. It's like vertical
Okay.
tabs.
You have
Okay.
not yet opened a folder.
Okay. So open a folder.
Okay. So when I make a project, I want to actually open a folder first thing so that everything goes into one section of
Yeah,
QDeveloper.
exactly. Because you want to
Okay.
keep it all together.
Okay.
And then
So
the
I
nice
shouldn't
thing
have.
is it, go ahead.
Sorry. No. I so I shouldn't have typed that into the chat. I should open a folder and then it's kind of like a project include where everything will just go into that section of
Yes,
QDeveloper. Okay.
exactly. But it'll stay there. Like the chat will keep. Don't worry about that. But the idea is you just you group all your files together. So these development environments like are basically a collection of files, and so you can create a project for your whatever you're working on. So just create one as a folder, and then we'll just put everything in there as we go.
Okay. So where do I create that folder?
Documents maybe. And open. Yep. Perfect.
Yes, I trust
And
the
trust it.
authors.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Now go back to the queue window. So it's a series of vertical tabs.
Which is
So
this one
it'll
right here? The last one that has an
it'll be
octagon.
open.
Hexagon.
Yep. It'll have a state and everything. Yep.
Okay, so hexagon. And
Yep, so
now
it's
I
still
go
there.
back and say, I have multiple conversations in Claude. Should I say it's in Opus 4? Does that matter?
No, but tell it in the Claude website.
In Claude website. And I would like a blog post written for each one separately. I don't want it to
Yes.
make one blog post out of all of them.
Each one. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Summarizing the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Yes.
Okay.
So here we're
And I
getting
have
a
an
high level.
example. That's my question. Like that one that it generated within Claude, that one was perfect. So I would like should I put an exemplar in the folder?
Yes. But don't worry about doing that to start with.
Okay.
Just give it this high level problem and let it think about it. Because it'll do as much as it can, then come back. Okay, so first it's going to look at your workspace and see what you have. So there's nothing in it. And so it's like, okay, I need to go get pulled data out of Claude. And it's actually just going to start writing a script to do that, which is pretty awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, so first it's making a plan, which is great, right? And then it's going to try to pursue that plan. And then if things don't work as part of its plan, it will alter the plan, which is great.
Wow.
All right, so I wrote you a Python script. And this is one of the nice things about writing in a development environment, which knows how to run Python scripts. You don't necessarily need to know what Python is or how to use it or anything like that, but the tools around it know. All right, let's see what it said.
So it says each conversation becomes a markdown file with title and overview, key discussion points, conversation highlights, and summary with insights. Like, I don't want that. I want it to look like that one blog post, which is way more artsy fartsy.
Perfect. So here's
Like
where we
what
give it the
what
exemplar.
they've listed is basically like, please take notes in class kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I want something entertaining.
Yeah, so it did a reasonable stab at what it thinks it should be like. We're going to give it an exemplar. So let's scroll back and see what it did, because it actually did more stuff. Okay, so it made a plan, all right? Then after the plan, it generated some files. So it wrote this conversation to blog post script. Yeah, this part is making its plan. So this is figuring out what it's
so
going
it
to
made
do.
a plan and it tells me the plan. So create a
Yeah.
conversation processor, generate blog posts, save each summary as a markdown file. Okay, that seems like a great plan. So here's what I built. Conversion to blog.python. So that will read the JSON conversion files and extract the information. And then it's telling me what to do, how to use it.
Anytime it recommends stuff, yep.
Okay. Just say
Let
yes.
it install its thing. Yes, exactly. Now, while it's doing that, go back to the Explorer and okay, we don't care about that. Yeah, it's going to do Python stuff, but we don't care about it. Back to the Explorer, and you should, if you right-click on the blog conversion prompt, I think it'll let you preview it because it's a open preview. Perfect. All right, see, it has a previewer because now it knows that and this is the nice thing about a development environment is it knows that markdown files can be rendered with preview tools, and so it'll render PDF files and stuff like that. And if it can't render something, it knows that there's a tool to render it and it'll ask you to install a plugin. And so this just makes your life easier when you're working with multimedia projects because you can just stick it all into a project and deal with it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Perfect. So now I think let's go back to Q and tell it, okay, I gave you an example prompt and an example blog post, and I would like you to make the conversion script use them.
I'm sorry. That the other queue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sorry. So everything we're doing is in the ID. I know we got multiple things named queue.
It's great. It's great. Should I give it that blog prompt overview in this so that it knows like what it's doing? Because that's kind of what that text file is.
It'll read the files and try to figure out what's there. So let's see what it does with it.
Okay. I'm hitting go.
Yeah.
I don't see the example and prompt you mentioned in your message. Could you please share the example, the prompt? Should I tell it it's in the document folder?
Yeah. It's in the files. So this will cause it. Now it's got tools. So it's going to get confused and it's going to be like, well, I'm just going to go look at what's in your project, which is what it's doing.
Okay.
And see, if it found them, right? This is nice thing about cognitive agents. You can be like, give them random, like, it's like over there-ish somewhere, and it'll think about what is the user trying to tell me.
Because that's the
what do I have
biggest
for
thing
tools
ever.
available?
It's in the
Totally vague.
files folder. Like, come on. That's the equivalent in computer speak of being like, hand me the thingamajigger.
Yeah, exactly.
It's over there
But
next to the
enough.
what you call it, and it goes and gets it. Holy smokes!
This is the difference between like precise computing and dealing with a cognitively aware entity. And this is why when people are like, "Oh, LLMs aren't really intelligent," we're like, "Just no, like no."
They're smart enough to deal like so basically what you're saying is like we've exited the world of giga, garbage in, garbage out, whatever that thing was, like where you have to be super specific. You can just be sloppy. Okay.
Yeah, it's like garbage in, something reasonable out, right?
It's putting the work back on me again.
Right. So what are we going to do?
Place your conversion files, JSON or text in the directory. Run the script. Use those prompts with Claude to generate. But I already have that prompt with Claude. That's how I got the first one. I just don't want to do that 536 times.
So now just tell it, I want you to get the files from Claude.
You go do it. I want you to go get the files. Claude. Claude,
right.
I don't have the ability,
How
which I know that
this,
because it's a password situation, right? Manual export. Go to Claude.ai, open each conversation, copy the text, and save as text file. I do not want to do that.
Too much work. Okay, option 2.
Browser automation script. I can create a script that helps automate the process if you can get the conversation URLs. The easiest approach is option 1, but I have does it know I have 500 of these? I'm going to tell it. I have 536 of these conversations.
So I don't want to do option 1.
I don't want to do. Oh, so you just talk it to you like it's your best buddy. Okay, option 1. I've put all the conversation I want converted into a single project folder in Claude.
In Claude. Yeah,
Is that helpful? Claude, tomatoes. I'll have you saying chat GPT, and eventually.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, yes, that's helpful. Having them in a Claude project folder makes this much more manageable. I'll create a script that can work with Claude's project structure.
So now hopefully what it's going to do is try to find an API for Claude. Now, if it can't find one, then we can give it more tools. But let's see what it does. Okay. Project ID auth token from your browser developer tools. Okay. Look at your project URL. It's after /project. All right, this seems helpful. Auth token. So it's got to get some browser authentication information from you, but in theory, you can go get this. F12 developers tool, network tab, refresh, look for API requests. Okay.
Would you prefer a simpler
or you can use a browser
browser-based
extension.
Solution? I mean, that would be great.
Yeah. Go for it.
The browser extension. The browser extension approach, please.
So this is something that was just like unreachable, right? In the past.
Well, yeah, because...
And so now it's like starting to be reachable.
So really, the takeaway I'm getting is you're going to definitely hit roadblocks. You just keep going back to it with, I don't want to do that. Can you do that? So you don't have to actually have the solutions yourself. You just ask it to find it gives you a problem, and then you just say, can you get me a solution to that problem? And it goes, sure. It's like a dog. You just throw the stick again. You don't have any more information. You just take the stick that it brings you and you just go, you do it.
So instead of micromanaging it, you're trying to point it in directions. Like, okay, go over there and do that. And it comes back, okay,
That's
I've gone as far as I can. You're like, no, you can go further. Yeah.
Right. But it's like, oh, here's the stick. This is the problem again. And you're like, well, go in that direction. So what did it say? And then you just read what it said. So, okay, perfect. Here's your simple 2-step solution. Oh, wow. I love this already.
Yeah. So this is sort of the cycle of whining where it's like, here, I've got this thing. And you're like, no, that's too much work. I'll whine more. And it'll be like, okay, all right, you could do this. So I'm kind of becoming a professional AI whiner.